Welcome to Radio KAL, the Superman podcast brought to you by supermanhomepage.com and sponsored by our good friend Patrick O'Neill. This is show number 139, released on July 27th, 2016. My name is Steve Eunice, and I'm joined by my good friend Scotty V. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, what's happening?
Not too much. It's kind of been a pretty good month as far as news is concerned. I think finished off by Comic-Con, which happened in San Diego this past weekend, and I guess a lot of news came out of that, but other than that, it's kind of been, yes, the release of Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition on Blu-ray, DVD, but beyond that, it's kind of been a bit of a quiet period of the year, because obviously there's no TV stuff, there's no new movie, comic books powering on. But I guess Comic-Con will be the big thing that we'll be talking about to start with.
Yeah, unfortunately, from what I saw, I didn't really see too much going on with Superman per se at Comic-Con. Although Henry Cavill was bouncing around. I don't know if you saw any of the videos of him in the V for Vendetta mask showing up at the Suicide Squad panel was really cool. And I guess he walked around and took pictures with people, and no one knew it was him. And then he revealed himself to Will Smith as he was getting his Suicide Squad shirt signed.
Yeah, it's very cool. It seems like Henry's got that bit of a thing that he likes to do, where he likes to walk around, whether he sees if he gets recognized or he likes to go undercover. He did it at Times Square in New York, where he walked around, incognito, if you like, and he's done it here again in San Diego Comic-Con. With a mask on, and it's pretty cool, surprising guys like Will Smith.
He was just himself. He didn't even have a mask or anything, and he wasn't recognized by people who were standing under the giant billboards of his huge face up above the city. But I like that he's playing around with it. I like that he's in good spirits, even though he's clearly being relegated to the background of unimportance as other characters, such as Deadshot and Snot Rag, or whatever the other characters' names are in Suicide Squad, and of course Batman, always in the forefront, while all the other members of the Justice League in our little reel that we got to see made to look kind of foolish as Batman and Bruce Wayne get all the cool, look at me, I'm the best kind of gags and sights and dialogue. And Superman nowhere to be seen when we do see our little peek at Justice League.
Yeah, we did. Zack Snyder did appear during the Warner Brothers panel presentation in Hall H on the Saturday of Comic-Con, July 23rd. And it was a quick presentation where they brought on the cast. They brought on Ben Affleck, then they had Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash. And then they kind of said, look, the Justice League isn't the Justice League without Superman. And after a bit of a delay, they brought on Henry Cavill to wild applause, which I thought was really cool. That that kind of him coming onto the stage in that way. It wasn't just another cast member. He was like, we can't have Justice League without the Superman, and without Superman. And yes, we know what happened at the end of Batman v Superman, but obviously we don't want to spoil what happens. But yes, Superman is in it, obviously. The presentation of footage that they showed from Justice League shows Bruce Wayne going around trying to bring together these superhero characters, these special people with special powers, to be part of a group. And he obviously approaches Aquaman, who says no. Him and Gal Gadot are trying to bring these people together. The Flash, Barry Allen, is I need friends. I'm in, without any hesitation whatsoever. And we obviously see a bit of Cyborg there as well. And no Superman, as you mentioned. But I guess that's because Superman won't be part of the film for the most part until they need him upon his resurrection.
Yeah, and I certainly hope, obviously, that it's one of these things where we finally get to see Superman in his resplendency. Here I come to save the day is what I'm hoping for. As they, and I don't even mind if he sings that. It really doesn't bother me. If they're all kind of in dire straits and without his intercedence, it would be a failure, in whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. Or, the movie kind of looks like a comedy, kind of a goof take at the moment. Maybe there's going to be some seriousness involved, but I know that everybody's whining about darkness and seriousness and realism, and he's already said Justice League's going to be much lighter, and we have every line of dialogue from Barry Allen sounds like it's coming out of the mouth of Jerry Lewis, except it's not delivered with such comedic timing. It's kind of clunky to me, a little goofy. And he very much doesn't seem like Barry Allen. He seems much more like a Wally type of a character. True. From my, I'm not a Flash expert, but Wally was the quipper. Wally was the guy who kind of was insecure and wanted to make jokes to kind of impress people and needed friends and that sort of thing. Whereas Barry was always more kind of serious and had a job and was around people and knew people. He wasn't a recluse in a lab.
Does he seem more like the Flash from the animated series that was played by
Rosenbaum?
Rosenbaum, yes.
And yes, he does. He seems more like, and that was Wally. That Wally, obviously not the Wally on the TV show.
Yeah.
But the Wally, the version of the Flash we got on the Justice League show, he seems more like him. Mm-hmm. In terms of the short bit of dialogue we were shown from him. I also don't like the outfit. I was not. We only see it a short glimpse.
Metallic, isn't it?
It looks odd. I'm okay with everybody else. That one looked a little odd to me, but again, we only saw a short amount of it. I do think he's the oddest casting of the bunch, and a lot of people would say that Jason Momoa is outside what you would normally think of as Aquaman. But if you do look at some of the 90s Aquaman books where he had the hook hand or long harpoon hand, where he had the long hair and he was tougher looking and kind of grizzled, this harkens back to that, whereas this Ezra Miller doesn't look like any Flash I've ever seen.
Yeah, true. So that's the Justice League footage that was shown at Comic-Con. Obviously, the movie isn't out until November of 2017, so they've edited this together, put it together. It's probably going to look fairly different. Some of the special effects around the Flash and Cyborg, may end up being completely different to what is being shown here because it's such early stages. They're still filming. There's still a lot to be done. So the fact that we got anything edited together for Comic-Con 2016 was a bit of a surprise. I imagine we'll see more and have a bigger panel and everything in Comic-Con 2017, which will be a couple of months out from the release of the film in 2017. So looking forward to that. It is pretty cool that they all came together for a very brief appearance and flew in from all parts of the world to be there in San Diego.
I did watch it twice. As much as I am kind of poo-pooing it a little bit, it's still very exciting, the idea of the first time they're all coming together for a Justice League movie. What I think I would have liked, and let's face it, nobody, even the general public, cares that it was seemingly Superman was dead. It's not going to be a spoiler if they show us that he's in Justice League. And I think everyone knows, not just comic book geeks, that Henry Cavill's in the Justice League movie. I think everybody knows that we've seen him training, that we've seen him behind the scenes, that we've seen him on set. So it's not like I would get it if this was like the 80s where you didn't know stuff before it happened, and I really I wish we still had that time period, but we had the technological advancements that we have now. Because you wouldn't know. When someone like Superman dies at the end of the movie, you'd say, well, they have to bring him, and you'd assume that he'd be in the movie, but you'd have no way of being until you showed it. And what I might have liked to see, or in that time period, they might not have shown it because maybe until November of 2017, they're going to keep it under wraps and no one's going to know. Like with Star Wars, they called it a whole different movie and no one even knew it was being filmed because they could do that. But today they can't. But I would have liked to see maybe his hand come up out of the dirt, or just as a final scene, a capper. But it seems to me, and this might just be my concern and my own worry and my own hopes that they don't kind of relegate Superman to being a nobody. I feel like they don't want to give that spotlight to him. And they want it to be everybody else and mainly Batman. So to have that as a capper at the end, I feel almost like they'd say, oh, yeah, but that's saying that everyone cares or that Superman's big, and we really don't want to go that way. So I hope that's not the case.
No, I hope so too, and I don't think it would be. I think they might not just have filmed anything around that yet. So the fact that we got so much, any footage at all, I think is amazing at this point in time. So
that's
early
true,
in the
and
game.
that's saying that the Flash outfit may just be a CGI type of a thing that
they might end up
aren't even
refining.
sure what it's going to look like yet.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more about Comic-Con when we talk about the comics later on in the show. But moving on to Batman v Superman, it did have its Ultimate Edition released on Blu-ray this past couple of weeks. I did get an early review copy from Warner Brothers on Blu-ray, which I managed to sit down, found 3 hours in my day to sit down and watch it, and then found some other extra time to sit down and watch most of the bonus material, the special features that are included in the Blu-ray combo pack. I have to say, the movie itself, and you've done a fair bit of discussion about the movie, but on your Great Scott video segments. But the Ultimate Edition is definitely an improvement on the theatrical version because we get more extra parts of the story, more. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just fleshed out more. There's more explanation. The characters that are important to the movie, the secondary characters like the woman from Africa and some of these other people that Clark Kent goes to interview and investigate, and their reasoning behind dumping on Superman in this movie is explained much more and more satisfactorily than it was in the theatrical version. We get more Clark Kent, more Lois Lane investigating, being reporters. I just felt like it was more of a more well-rounded film. Yes, it was long at 3 hours, but it just helped to really define the reasons behind it. It added the manipulation of Lex Luthor an extra level, even if it was already, part and parcel of what the movie was made up of. You just saw the extent of his manipulation of all these people and political, everything. So I actually, it improved the movie for me, the extra information that we received in that 30 minutes of extra footage.
Awesome. Well, now that you've said all of that, I need to say my thing, so just bear with me a second. I ordered the Ultimate Edition from Amazon with a statue, the Superman statue. You could get Batman or you could get Superman. And I, of course, strangely enough, chose the Superman side of the statues. And I ordered it on June 19th, which is a full month and more over the time that I should have needed to order it, and was promised day of release it would be at my door. Now, last week I went on a business trip, and I didn't get back till Thursday, which means I should have had it for 2 days at that point, and I expected to come home from the trip, watch it, and be able to talk about it on here, do a little segment on Great Scott, because that would be my capper. I haven't talked about the Ultimate Edition yet. It was not here. I checked it out. It's been delayed. Now, I was supposed to have it by tomorrow, but I went, and tomorrow, you'll hear this after, I would have, on July 26th, which was a week after release date, although Amazon promised me release date at the door. So I canceled that. It was going to cost me $116. I was going to get a statue, but I was supposed to get it on release date, and I made promises to people that I was going to talk about this on Great Scott, and I'm not going to, I just want everyone to know you can't necessarily trust Amazon who says you're going to have this released to you day of, because now I had to go out and buy it, and I only got it tonight because everyone locally is sold out of the Blu-ray.
Yeah, that was a disappointing thing from Amazon. I'd heard a number of people had the same issue with the Superman statue exclusive that Amazon offered. It wasn't released. The Superman version did not arrive as promised on the day of delivery that they had originally promised for pre-orders and everything like that. The Batman one did, which is typical, but the Superman one, people are still waiting for it, and that's very disappointing for those people who ordered that. Being an Amazon exclusive, you think that they would have had it ready and set to ship on time with people who pre-ordered it months in advance, weeks in advance. So very disappointing. I'm very disappointed on behalf of those people like yourself who were hoping to get this delivered on the day of release. That's pretty poor form. And hopefully we'll get a chance to listen to your thoughts about it on Great Scott in the coming week or so.
Yeah, I did pick it up tonight. I don't know that I'll have time to watch it before I have to record, so I may have another week. I hate to keep delaying because, I'm already still talking about Batman v Superman, and it came out almost 6 months ago, which is crazy. But everyone's talking about the Ultimate Edition 3 weeks ago because it came out on digital.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to buy it on digital because when the zombie apocalypse happens and all of the servers get destroyed, how am I going to watch a movie if I don't have the DVD hard copy?
Yeah. So, and the bonus material, I reviewed that on the website. I think it's a bit lacking in quantity. The quality of it is really good.
Doesn't surprise me. I'm so disappointed to hear that from you because I felt like Man of Steel was also lacking, and I don't understand that. I don't get it.
I mean, you'd think you're going to do a 3-hour version of the movie. That should be there should be enough material there for you to discuss and do behind the scenes stuff. And there are some great ones. The one on Superman and seeing Henry Cavill's stunt double and seeing how they filmed certain scenes. The sink smashing across the back of Superman's head and how it's just a bit of foam rubber that they're using during filming. That's later on done computerized, and the wire work and all the whole thing. Showing what they did was great. I just felt that there wasn't enough of it. I would have liked to see maybe a blooper reel. Of course, it's such a serious movie that seeing them having a few bloopers and gaffes and things where they break down into laughter because someone fluffed their lines or whatever it might be would have been a bit of fun to see, and just maybe some, a special on the digital effects and how they do that, and breaking down, what's from green screen to how it goes into the computer to the finished product. That would have been pretty cool to see. And obviously, there's no commentary track because a 3-hour movie, they probably couldn't get anybody in for 3 hours to sit down and watch it themselves. I don't know, but I just felt that while the quality of the material there is top notch. They're all very similar in the feel, and so I didn't feel like there was enough quantity included in the Blu-ray edition.
That's very disappointing to hear. And is there a commentary track for the theatrical edition?
No, the theatrical edition is just on the... there's no commentary track at all on any of them, so... the theatrical, you get the DVD version, which is just the theatrical. There is no Ultimate Edition on DVD because obviously I think the DVD just can't hold a 3-hour movie. So you get the theatrical version on DVD, you get the Ultimate Edition on Blu-ray, and the theatrical version on Blu-ray as well. And that's where all the bonus material is on that disc with the theatrical version.
Very disappointing because on Man of Steel there was no commentary either. There was this thing they did where they took a little, they cut the screen, and the movie kept playing, and one of the actors would talk about something that was going on right then, but there was no standard where it played through the whole thing, and you could hear the director or actor's thoughts on the whole movie. Maybe they're moving away from that. I don't know. I don't buy a lot of movies.
Yeah,
maybe it's not something people
do anymore.
Like anymore, or even maybe they did research and realized nobody ever watches that stuff, or in general, if the amount of people that watch it. Like I was when I went to pick up the movie, I was looking at new TVs because this 4K Ultra DVD, Ultra high definition is coming out now, and they were saying that because I said I would like to get a 3D TV because I never watched my Man of Steel 3D copy on TV. I have it; it's in that little S shield that I got, and I saw it in 3D in the theater once, and they said, they're kind of doing away with 3D TVs. There aren't even any new ones that were released this season. They still sell some, but they're previous years. So that seems to be kind of, and maybe, again, they did research and people said, we really don't care about that. And generally, I don't go for 3D that much myself, but I have it, so I would like to see it. It's there.
Same.
But
so that's Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any complaints you had if you did the Amazon thing, which version you got. We ran a poll about that. Seems like the standard Blu-ray was the one that most people got, and with 3D
That's
being the second
now.
most. Yeah, same. And so there's a poll currently running at the very beginning of this month that you're listening to this podcast, asking about your thoughts on the Ultimate Edition compared to the theatrical version. So get involved in that poll. Now, quickly...
There's a 4K version as well.
4K is... my parents bought a 4K TV, and the quality of 4K is just amazing. It's eye-popping. So, if you've got a 4K version, wow.
Yeah, I'm in this like it was sold out in Blu-ray in all the stores I went to. I finally found it in Target tonight. It took me like an hour to go to 3 different stores, and I had gone to some the other day. And I was thinking of almost buying a whole package. I was going to buy a 4K TV. I was going to buy a 4K player and the 4K movie, all for a movie. One disc that was released. I've actually been thinking of upgrading my TV anyway, but that's a huge expense. And right now, only one company makes a player, and that's Samsung. Sony and some others are coming out with them later. But yes, they had comparisons going on, and 4K looks great.
Yeah.
But it is a big expense to change over all your stuff, especially if it's just for this movie. But I was so excited. I was like, oh, I could watch this Batman v Superman, and it'll look even better than what I remember it looking like. But I didn't do it. I have Blu-ray instead.
Very good. Now, just quickly back to the Justice League movie, there was one bit of casting news that came out this past month, and that was a mystery role for actor Julian Lewis-Jones, who you may recognise. He's been in a few things, Invictus and other things like that. Don't know what role he'll be. He's a Welsh actor. Not sure what role they're making for him or what role he'll be filling out in the Justice League movie, but he has been cast.
Martian Manhunter. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility. But
we're missing one member still, aren't we?
There's Green Lantern also, yeah.
So they're only going with 6, but
yeah.
Right now we're only 5, right? So then 6 would be Green Lantern, and then 7. Who's 7? There is no 7, but it's supposed to.
Where do you get? You got Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Cyborg, Aquaman, Flash. That's 6.
I said that first, and then you said Green Lantern, so I guess he'd be the 7th.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If there's a Green Lantern.
If there is a Green Lantern. Yes, that's right. We don't know.
We're missing somebody. Maybe Julian's the Green Lantern. Who knows?
Maybe he's that 7th member that you're talking about. So that's the only bit of casting news for Justice League.
Maybe he's Steppenwolf.
Well, that seems to be a CGI character as it was portrayed in Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. But that's where we're at with the films. Batman v Superman out on Blu-ray, and Justice League. We've got that tidbit of information from San Diego Comic-Con. The only other movie,
Wonder Woman. Watch if you haven't seen it.
Watch the trailer for
Not
Wonder
Superman,
Woman.
But wow, it looks incredible.
Exactly. And the only other movie news that we need to discuss is the fact that the latest Lego DC Comics superhero movie, Lego Justice League Gotham City Breakout, is now also available on Blu-ray and DVD. I was supposed to get a review copy from Warner Brothers. They sent me an email saying, you should have received your copy by now. Here are the things that you need to mention in your review and blah, blah, blah. And I went, no, I haven't. It didn't arrive, and I've heard nothing since. And my replies, no replies to my emails asking about where
they're probably supplied by Amazon, so they weren't able to get it so that they could give it to you.
So if you have managed to see it, love to hear your thoughts on that. A new animated movie from the Lego people and DC Comics. So we can't talk about that here because neither of us have seen it yet, but looking forward to catching that one as well.
Awesome.
All right, let's move into some TV talk. And for Supergirl, the title of the premiere episode for Season 2, which is now on the CW, looking forward to that taking place, is the title of the first episode will be Adventures of Supergirl, which is obviously, a very familiar title from the comics, from, the Adventures of Superman TV series, and, there's so many, just the whole The Adventures thing is a pretty common thing, but an interesting title for an episode of a TV series.
That is a strange title. I mean, I don't know if they're, because it's on the CW, they're kind of going a little more chintzy. I'm not really sure, but I'm looking forward to it either way, and I want to find out what was in that pod. So,
yeah, and if you are not a Supergirl fan or you haven't really watched the show for Season 1 and not sure what's happening, maybe, you weren't a CBS person or whatever the case may be, you can rewatch the entire first season on the CW. They're going to be starting from the pilot episode on August 1st. They're going to be running 2 episodes a week, back to back, I think it might be. 2 episodes a week from August 1st until they've finished all the 20 episodes, and we'll start with the first episode of Season 2, which will be on Monday, October 10th at 8 p.m. on the CW. So I'll be able to watch the entire first season on the CW from August 1st until the premiere of Season 2 on October 10th.
Well, I have heard a lot of people say that they didn't try it. They were going to watch it, and then they just didn't get around to it. And now they might because it's on CW. So good news, you can watch the whole first season now to get you ready for the new Season 2 when it comes, I guess in October or something like that.
Yep, October 10th. So, and there's been some casting news for the Supergirl Season 2. We've had Ian Gomez has been cast to play Snapper Carr, and it's an interesting one because Snapper Carr is normally a young character, but here is noted as being a headstrong, sharp-witted newsman hired by Cat Grant. Snapper's commitment to hard-hitting journalism pushes Catcar reporters to dig deeper in the pursuit of excellence. He's a man who tells people what he thinks of them, and his no-holds-barred approach pushes Kara in unexpected ways. And he will be part of the cast for Season 2, maybe being more of a kind of a foil because of the fact that maybe Calista Flockhart isn't going to be in the show as much as she was in Season 1, with her not moving from LA to Vancouver as the show has moved its production there. We may see Ian Gomez as Snapper Carr being more of the Cat Grant type character for Kara than Cat Grant herself.
That's what it sounded like when I read this. It sounds like he's going to be kind of the guy who takes over normal everyday operations of telling people what to do. And you're right, it doesn't really fit the person that you normally think of as Snapper Carr. But my biggest disappointment there is that we're losing the female boss role, where we got to see her kind of as the annoying witch character, but also we saw that she had some heart, she had some depth to her, and she was hiding some things with her aggressiveness that made her a more touching character, and she and Kara's relationship was progressing, and so I'm disappointed that we brought another male in to be what seems like it's going to be the boss type figure, and that obviously we're losing Calista for however many episodes she won't be on. I know she's going to appear from time to time. That's, I think, the latest word.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how many episodes or how involved she will be or how that will take place, but that's where things are going. Well, what we think is where things are going with that particular role. The other piece of casting announcement was Floriana Lima cast in the role of Maggie Sawyer for Supergirl. Now, this character obviously was created by John Byrne and first introduced in 1987 as the captain of the MSC, the Metropolis Special Crimes Unit, and Maggie was revealed as being a lesbian in the Superman titles, but whether or not that will transfer into the TV series, I'm not sure. But on Supergirl, Maggie will be a detective for the National City Police Department who takes a special interest in the cases involving aliens. So interesting casting there. I'm glad to see Maggie Sawyer transfer from the comics to the TV show.
Yeah, I mean, she was on Smallville. She was on the Superman animated series. So I guess this is our third foray into television for Maggie Sawyer. So it's good to see that happening. The only one I keep missing who doesn't seem to turn, although Turpin, I guess, was in Smallville, but it was a very, very different version of Dan Turpin. I'd like to see the grizzled, kind of angry, big lug of a guy Dan Turpin be cast somewhere, but at least we got Maggie, so we'll start there.
Yeah, and Chris Woods, another actor, has been cast in an unknown role for Season 2 of Supergirl. We don't know what role he will play, but he's a veteran of TV shows like Vampire Diaries, Carrie Diaries, and most recently Containment. So he's joining the series as a series regular, but his role is shrouded in mystery at the moment. So we'll wait and see when Supergirl starts on October 10th for Season 2, on the CW just what role he will be playing.
Awesome.
Okay, that's the Supergirl news. And again, it's been a bit quiet this past month because of the fact that, things, obviously they're filming, they're about to start. The cast of Supergirl was at San Diego Comic-Con. They did have a panel and they did have signings and things like that. They did a really cute video where they tried to recap Season 1's story in musical form with Jeremy Jordan, who plays Win Shot, taking the lead, I guess, from between him and Melissa Benoist in coming up with a musical version of what he thinks, or how they think the Season 1, the story of Carr progressed, and then James and Jimmy and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty funny. They seem like a real fun bunch to be around.
Yeah, I like the cast. I really do, and I think the show has given all of them opportunity to shine, not so much as singing a song about the entirety of the season, but certainly I'm looking forward to seeing them for Season 2. I wonder, and I'm sure they're just happy to be working and happy to have the show go on, but I wonder how it feels to and this is going to sound controversial, but that's why I'm here. I wonder how it feels to them to go from a real network to the CW.
Oh, wow. Yes. Well, I guess, like you said, they'd just be happy the fact that the show's continuing. And from their perspective, it probably won't mean too much in a change because it'll still be the same people working with them. Belanti and crew and all those people will still be part of the show. But, yeah, I wonder if there will be any change in the way they see their show because it has moved to the CW, but then the Flash and Arrow and the other people that they're friends and familiar with will also be are also on the same network.
Well, taking it a little more seriously, other than the cut-up I was trying to be a moment ago, I wonder if you feel like, even though you're succeeding because you're getting a second season, if you feel like you failed in some way, or that your show failed, or that you feel deflated, like, oh, geez, I wish the regular people who watch TV would have watched it instead of just the people who like comic book shows on the CW, which I am one of them. So I like Arrow and I like Flash, and I'm glad that Supergirl's getting a second season, which if they pressed it with CBS, we wouldn't get. And I said from the beginning it was a wrong move in the first place. It should have been on CW. And now that we are, I wonder how you feel when you, like, if you're Greg Berlanti, you're very successful. You got all these shows going on, but then you go, wow, I got the big leagues now. I got CBS. I can try and introduce a Supergirl character to the masses instead of just a few people on the CW. And then it goes down the tubes, and you go, oh, please, CW, let me have it on here. And they do, because you have a couple of shows on there. And so I wonder how he even feels in terms of, obviously, he'd never tell you. He'd say, oh, we feel great. We love working with CW. Yeah. This is fantastic. But in terms of it being a bigger scale, the idea that there are so many more people who might watch the CBS shows, it must be a little deflating. But on the other hand, if it keeps the viewership that it had on CBS, it'll be the biggest show on the CW. So that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. So... And Tyler Hoechlin was also, as we know, playing Superman, was there at Comic-Con as well as part of the cast in attendance. So great to see him fitting in with his new castmates. So looking forward to Season 2 of Supergirl kicking off October 10th on the CW, Monday, 8 p.m.
Awesome.
Now, if you are a fan of Supergirl, and especially the music that is in Supergirl, La La Land Records are releasing the Supergirl soundtrack on CD. They're also releasing a soundtrack for the Justice League animated series. So La La Land Records really doing great things with some new announcements. The first off, the Justice League one, I'll talk about that quickly because I've got that in front of me. That's a 4 CD set. That will be all the music. It's limited edition to 3,000 units. Will cost $60. Will retail for $60. And that can be purchased through the La La Land Records website. The Supergirl soundtrack is available July 26th, so at the time that you're listening to this podcast. Again, a limited edition of 3,000 units, and it will retail for $16. and that has a number of tracks from season 1 of Supergirl, and comes in a nice little package and everything like that. So if you're interested, LaLaLandRecords.com.
Very cool. I when you started to talk about it, I thought, what is the market for that? And apparently it's 3,000. Justice League went off the air 15 years ago or whatever. The Superman animated record came out not that long ago, and that went off 20 years ago or longer. So are there really people? I'm sure there are. I wouldn't mind having it, but as far as it being a worldwide release with hundreds of millions of people on the planet, are they really that interested in something like this? But if they're only making 3,000 copies, I'm sure they'll find their buyers.
So that's LaLaLandRecords.com for those two soundtrack collections. All right, the only other bit of TV news that I wanted to mention before we move into our comic book discussion is the highlights reel that we received at Comic-Con for Justice League Action, the new animated features or series that will be on Cartoon Network soon. We got to see a little bit of like a sizzle reel that included Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, a number of other heroes, some surprising appearances, and it says the world's greatest superheroes return to television in Justice League Action, an all-new quarter-hour animated series, and it will be coming soon to Cartoon Network. What did you think of this? I love the look of it.
Well, I'm going to say two things. Two words that I have about this little sizzle reel we saw. Well, the first word is Batman, 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 Batman. And the second word is very kiddie-ish.
Yeah.
It's definitely, and I know they've already said that it's going to be more geared toward young viewers. Mm-hmm. But again, with the Batman, he opens the reel. He's on every picture. If you go to YouTube to look this up to watch it, he's what you see when you look up Justice League Action. He's at the front of the video. He's at the end of the video. Although they did throw me a bone, and Superman flies by as the title comes up. Yeah. So he is technically, Superman is the last thing we see, which I thought we should have had with the Justice League live action movie reel that we saw. But I guess we have to take what we can get. What I did notice of the Superman we did get to see, it seems like he's getting beat up in every shot. He's getting thrown through a wall. He's getting thrown into the ground. He's getting punched. Batman's beating him up. There are several different shots of Superman, and in all of them, it seems to me that his feet are up in the air and he's getting thrown someplace.
I did like the look of Brainiac in this. There seems to be playing with the brain side of Brainiac, and his head's larger and all that kind of thing. So that was pretty cool to see. The costume designs are interesting. There's no red shorts on Superman. Wonder Woman doesn't have any stars, that kind of thing. But
she also has like a big head of hair, like crazy hatchet hair. Wonder Woman has like sticking up sideways. It's a little strange. Did you notice? And what did you make of it? It seems like Lex Luthor might be fighting on the side of the Justice League in this, from what I could tell.
He does have that heroic kind of look. He's got his, armor, body armor, robot armor thing on. He does seem to be fighting on the side of good, but which we've seen in the comic books of late. He joined the Justice League and that kind of thing. So he may be a character that is playing both sides of the net, if you like, and we'll see how his character is portrayed. But that was an interesting thing. We also saw, Booster Gold. We saw the
Plastic Man.
Hawk. I think Hawkman or Hawk Girl. Different characters that are in there. So some interesting choices. And there's this taxi. Michael Bailey is all over the taxi thing that's in there. The I'm not sure. It's skipping my mind. It's not something that I'm familiar with, but I'm not as well read as he is. But Cosmic Taxi or Cosmic Cab or something like that. But looking forward to. Yes, it seems to be aimed at a much younger audience, and it is only a quarter-hour animated series, so it's not any lengthy stories like, say, Young Justice. That's a bit more mature. But, getting these characters in animated form in a new series on Cartoon Network can only be a good thing.
Well, listen, for them, it seems like they have realized that the way to go is Tiny, whatever that show is called.
Teen Titans Go.
And they came back to the Powerpuff Girls, shows that are more aimed at young viewers and kind of senseless in terms of, I've laughed at Teen Titans, no doubt. And they have a lot of little Easter eggs for people who do know comics or do know that Superman's involved or whatever, but they're rarely heroic on Teen Titans. It's really a lot of mishaps and accidents and goofy things they do to each other. But I could see how it could be fun for younger people not really looking to invest their brain thinking about a deep story like Young Justice. And obviously they weren't that happy with Young Justice, or it wasn't doing what they wanted it to, because that got taken off the air, and we've complained about that enough. But I don't think they want to go that way, so it makes sense, I guess, for them to come out with something a little shorter, a little ADD sympathetic, and a little more skewed to the younger audience that they seem to be pleasing with a show like Teen Titans Go.
So that is Justice League Action. We don't know a premiere date yet for Cartoon Network's.
I hate that title.
Yeah, I guess it's the JLA. So
what happened to the one book? And we're going to talk about comics. Maybe I should have brought it up then, but I don't even know. Does anybody even know? Did anybody read it? Did it even come out? Does it exist? This book I heard about that was going to be a second Justice League title that was outside of continuity, that was going to be, and I think that was called JLA, and the A stood for something else as well. It was like a book that was going to have arcs about each hero, and it was starting with Superman, and I can't remember what it was, and I never found it, and I never saw it. Maybe it came out, maybe it didn't, but
no, it doesn't ring a bell. I mean, I know there is a new Justice League title for the Rebirth era, and there's a Justice League America title that's coming out probably next month. That's in the Rebirth era, but no, that's news to me.
There was one we talked about it on one of these shows. It was coming out. The artist was happy about. He was going to be. I think he was drawing it and he was writing it, and it was going to run alongside it was in the New 52, but it was an outside of continuity Justice League book, and he was happy to be able to tell Justice League stories, and he was going to be concentrating on each character. But I digress. Move on.
Interesting. Sir. Okay. Well, let's move into comic book discussion, as you mentioned, and let's start. And because now with Action Comics and Superman, there are 2 issues per month. We have issue 958 of Action Comics, and in this one, we get a little bit of a recap to start the issue of Clark Smith talking about the fact they come from a different universe, that he worked behind the scenes. The Superman that was part of the New 52 universe died. Lex Luthor declared himself to be successor. And now, there's a man who claims to be Clark Kent wandering around Metropolis. And now Doomsday has turned up. And it's the same Doomsday, covered in the green coverings with the stuff holding him back and, wrapped with an arm behind his back and all that kind of stuff. The way he appeared when he first appeared back in the mid-90s or early 90s. And, Superman has to, alongside Lex Luthor, fight him in the middle of Metropolis. You've got Jimmy trying to take photos. You've got this powerless Clark Kent, who is a real mystery, looking on and trying to report on it with Jimmy. And Jimmy's going, I know it's you, Clark. Go in there and help him. You're Superman. He's going, no, I'm not Superman. I'm just Clark Kent. And we're going, what? Who is this? How did he come? Where did he come from? And you've got Lois and Jonathan looking on via the TV reports, with Jonathan, not knowing that once upon a time his dad died at the hands of this Doomsday, and Lois is, trying to protect him from that information as they watch on and see Superman fighting to save the city from Doomsday.
I like how in comic books people can watch every step of a battle, like every punch, every kick on TV from whatever, as if in the middle of a disaster that's going on, there's going to be some newsman with a camera right there
on every
seeing
angle.
Every punch, every kick, everything that we read in the book, they can see on the TV screen. I love that when I read that. It happens every time there's a battle, and somebody can watch it right on TV. But yeah, there are a lot of interesting things going on. It almost seems like they just took everything and threw it at the book, and it's just there. Because Lex is there, Jimmy's there, Lois and Jonathan are watching what's going on. Doomsday is there. They're fighting in the streets. I guess Lex Luthor is about to be killed. There's a lot going on, and it's a lot of nonsensical stuff just kind of happened suddenly, and now we have to figure out why and get to a point where it all makes sense.
And then it moves straight on to 959 Action Comics, where it continues on. Lex is nearly, being shredded apart, and Lois is thinking back, at the time when Clark did die at the hands of Doomsday. But Superman knows now, having fought this creature before, that he can't hold back. That from the very beginning, he has to do everything and anything within his power to be able to stop Doomsday here and now. Lex Luthor uses a mother box to repair his costume, and Doomsday is just rampaging through. But the problem is that this Clark Kent, this weak, powerless Clark Kent, who, this mystery figure, gets in the way trying to report it, gets his arm broken, and Superman has to try to save him while telling Lex to help save the people of the town. And, it's just a continuation, I guess, if you like, of 958. I mean, you could really see the two being one big comic book. But, the fight is taken underground. There's a massive explosion. But Doomsday is still alive and standing over Clark on the final page of this particular issue.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, for years I've been wishing we still had Superman, Man of Steel, a comic book, and Man of Tomorrow, where we had 4 books every month. But looking at it realistically and looking at it from a business standpoint and looking at it from where the money is coming from and how much they're making, all of those books were canceled because no one's buying 4 books a month about Superman. No one's buying comics anymore in general, so you can only sell what you can sell. And maybe this is only a limited time thing as they relaunch Rebirth. I would love it. I would if suddenly Superman was popular, and if suddenly comic books were popular, and if suddenly all of these books related to Superman were selling. But how long can we possibly go on with 2 actions every month and 2 Supermans every month? I just don't see it being viable. And as you say, that could have been one big story. I'm not saying there wasn't enough there to have 2 books, but in the last 15 years, we would have had 2 books over 2 months. We wouldn't have had 2 books in 1 month. And I like that we have more material and more books. And obviously, the company would love it if they can continue to sell books at $3.99 or $4.99 or whatever they sell for now, twice a month. But I just don't know how viable that is, or if that can possibly continue.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. The twice monthly thing is a bit confounding. I'm wondering whether or not the artists and the writers can keep up that pace, or whether they're just writing it as one book that's maybe a little bit longer than they would normally write, and then it's being split into 2 issues across the month from a publication point of view and an editing point of view with printing and all that kind of stuff. But whether the writers and artists themselves are just looking at it as 1 issue per month that they normally do, but just maybe a few extra pages or something. It'd be interesting to ask, say, someone like Dan Jurgens or Tomasi or Gleason or some of those guys involved, how they're approaching this 2 issue a month thing. Are they looking at it as one big issue or what? So that is an interesting.
But are they still 20 pages or 22 pages? Are they each full books?
Yeah, well, they appear to be. So I don't think there's any less pages. Then we move on to Superman number 2 and number 3. Now, the last podcast, we spoke about Superman number 1 and your thoughts on Superman and the fact that Jonathan was looking at this, he was looking out the window, he sees Batman and Wonder Woman arrive, and Superman's towering over him, there's a lot of long shadows, and I was from the perspective that this is all Jonathan's guilt, and, the way he was perceiving it, and that, it was from his perspective that all these things looked scary, and, they were talking about him and all that kind of thing. And I think that's kind of, I don't want to say I told you so kind of thing, but I think this next issue bears this out with Jonathan asking his dad, are you turning me over to the Justice League? Is that why they came to talk to you at the farm? And he says, no, Superman says to him, no, they were checking up on me. Then so they asked to kind of win over their trust. I said to them that I would take care of this issue that's currently happening, that they're flying to what is it, a Coast Guard icebreaker that they have to save, and he thought he'd bring Jonathan along to help him as part of his training with his new powers, and things go from there.
Well, you are possibly right. I still feel like, and I don't, listen, as far as I told you so, I don't mind if you do, because I would rather it be explained in that manner. I just don't feel like, I have since read other reviews, and I have since listened to other people talk about it, and it seems like, and I just may be an idiot, and I'm sure the two viewers I have on Great Scott and the hundreds of thousands you have listening to this that have to bear with my voice as well already know that I'm an idiot. But my thinking on this was that I'm the only one who didn't get it. From what I've been hearing, it sounds like everybody kind of knew that Jonathan was seeing this from his viewpoint, and that they weren't that scary, and that they weren't there for him, and that they weren't talking about him, and that Superman wasn't imposing in his room like that. I didn't get that. I didn't see it that way. I still don't see it that way. I don't see how it could come across that way, but everybody else saw it and I didn't. So I'm the one who must be wrong. But we did see Superman storm in there, slam the door open, and say, "Quietly, you're coming with me." We did see Wonder Woman land with a sword in her hand. We did see them looking angry in the dark shadows. And from my point of view, Jonathan is a child who deserves better from his parents than what he's getting, and has no reason to be guilty because he hasn't done anything wrong. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's feeling, I think, guilty because of the fact that he killed the house cat and didn't.
But he was attacking an attacker, and the cat just happened to also get.
But I know that it was an accident. I'm not saying that he did it on purpose, but from a kid's point of view, they feel that guilt, they feel that shame, they feel that, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble kind of thing. I must be in trouble. And here, obviously, in this issue number 2, Superman, puts his mind at ease and brings him along to help train him. And the interesting thing here is, yes, there's this giant squid that's being controlled, but Jonathan comes to help. There's something going on. Howard, he cuts his knee. He's feeling a little bit cold, and some creature, we find out in the next issue who it is, comes across the blood droplets on the snow, and I guess takes them as samples and fuses them, brings them, studies them, finds out that they're half Kryptonian, half Earthling, and we find out that in the next issue that a particular creature, or before that, at the end of this issue, Jonathan falls out of a tree. The tree branch breaks. He's sitting in there with his new friend Kathy, and her grandfather brings Jonathan, who's unconscious, into the house, into the Smith house, and Lois and Clark, I guess Clark gets a little bit protective here, and is concerned about Jonathan, and they take him to the New 52 version of the Fortress of Solitude, where they come across the Eradicator.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and then we move into issue number 3, which is the confrontation with the Eradicator, and the fact that he looks exactly like the Eradicator that we've seen from the pre-Flashpoint era, with the goggles and the look and everything like that. But he has a new set of powers, a new origin, if you like, a different origin, where he was there to preserve life on Krypton and preserve the Kryptonian way. But when Krypton exploded, they were off planet, and he followed the rocket ship to Earth. And here he's come across Jonathan, who is part Kryptonian, part Earthling, and he wants to eradicate the Earth part of him, which doesn't sound like that will keep Jonathan intact, because how do you rip out an Earthling's DNA from a hybrid, if you like? And in the process, Krypto is gone.
Oh man, that's a terrible thing. Here's the thing, you got to wonder if the Eradicator followed the ship to Earth.
Why did it take him so long?
Where's he been all this time? He's just been hanging out someplace. Plus, there was some sort of crossover where we now have 2 different versions of Superman. There's a whole set of universes that has been destroyed. There's another character, Telos or whatever the hell we decided his name was, that put it all together, and now they're all back again. And at the same time, there's this guy saying, Superman, you can't live your life the way you've been living. Forget about fighting Doomsday with brawn. You have to do something different. And that's in the Action comic, of course. So at the same time, the Eradicator is now involved and somehow wants to eradicate the portion of Jonathan that's Earthling, but only decided to show up now. I don't know why.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things where it's a new story with a character that should have been around before, but he hadn't been introduced before, so they just say that it took him longer to come to Earth than the rocket ship did. And I just find it interesting that we're getting these versions. We've got Doomsday. We don't know where or how he came about, but he's obviously the pre-Flashpoint version of Doomsday, appearing in the New 52 or Rebirth era all of a sudden. Now we've got this Eradicator who looks like the pre-Flashpoint Eradicator appearing in this Rebirth era. So everything seems to be falling back into place from the pre-Flashpoint era, or versions of those characters seem to be introduced into this Superman's world all of a sudden, and we don't know where or how they've come, especially Doomsday. So it's there's Clark Kent. There's a lot of mystery, and it's got me interested. I'm reading the Superman comics with a lot more interest and excitement than I have for a long time, but they're stringing us along with these mysteries.
I guess that's true. But Doomsday's the same. So if it's okay that no, I'm saying, but if it's okay that the old Doomsday showed up again, and we're going to wait to find out the mystery, then it's probably okay. Similar, at the same time, another character from that storyline has appeared, the Eradicator, looking the same way as he looked then, and behaving in much the same way. So maybe there's something to be said for this guy in the background that seems to be manipulating things or involved with knowing who manipulated them. And so now we have the other character, and he's appeared in much the same way as Doomsday, just out of nowhere, just suddenly showed up, and only at this time. So it seems that
they're connected.
The time period has kind of converged with the New 52, and that's where we are. They've kind of slammed together, and now we have to figure it out or come to an understanding as they reveal the mysteries.
So, like I said, I'm excited for the Superman titles for the first time in a long time. So looking forward to see where they're taking us with this. Now, speaking about Rebirth era and everything, we've got a new Superman, a new title called New Superman with a hyphen in between Super and Man. It's based in China. We've got this Chinese Superman. It's unrelated to the Superman comics at this point in time. We don't see any crossover, but there are a lot of similarities in the characters. You know, we've got this Lani Lane or whatever her name is, who's obviously like a Lana Lang, Lois Lane type character. We've got this character's obviously some type of a Lex Luthor type character, but this Kenan Kong isn't a very likable hero, if you like. He's a bully. He's picking on this other kid whose father owns an airline, and that airline happened to be the airline that Kenan's mum was traveling on when she died in a crash. There's a character called Blue Condor who is taking this young boy, and Kenan comes to his rescue, which is against kind of what he does, but he wants to try to pick up this reporter lady, this other behind-the-scenes kind of organization wants to experiment on him. His dad doesn't, he's a conspiracy theorist about this organization. There's a lot thrown into this particular comic book for an issue 1, and it was interesting. I'm not really loving this Kenan Kong character, but I guess that's the point, is that he's not a likable character at first, but maybe because of his infusion with these powers, he'll become more of a heroic character. And at the end of the issue, we get a Batman and a Wonder Woman thrown in for good measure.
Well, listen, I picked this up in the comic book store when I was buying my books the other week, and I looked at it, and I was so tempted to buy it because it seems to have some relation. But then I thought about it, and I said, I feel like this is a new thing. It's another attempt at diversity for the sake of diversity, as opposed to for the sake of a good story to tell or a reason or a good character to create. It's trying to play on the Superman name, which isn't selling anyway. So that's another thing that seems nonsensical, because it's not like you're calling it New Batman, which Batman books kind of sell. In terms of comic books not selling, at least Batman sells as much as any comic book might sell. But New Superman #1 is just a redundant title. It's got the dumb hyphen in there. He's not really Superman. He doesn't have any of the colors. He's not related in any way. I looked through the book. I leafed through it. I saw the final page. You're talking to the Chinese Batman now, and I said, this is poorly written. People don't even talk. People don't talk like that in any way. No one's going to come down and say you're talking to the new Chinese Batman. No one's going to say. No one. You don't show up and go, by the way, I'm the American Scotty V, and you're talking to him now. You just are what you are, and you say what you are going to say. You don't say who you are and where you're from because we're reading a book about a Chinese guy. So that's a little. It was a little jarring, but I didn't buy it because I don't feel like it has any real connection to the Superman books per se, other than they took the name and he's got an S that doesn't look like any Superman S. So I don't feel like it pertains to what we're looking to talk about.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll keep on for issue 2, but it's a strange one. But
I don't imagine it'll last. I didn't think it would when it was announced. Yeah. I couldn't understand what they were. I mean, I guess I understand what they're going for, but again,
it's a strange.
I'm not in charge
choice
of any of these companies. I don't have a good job, a creative job. I'm for all intents and purposes, I'm a loser. I drive a bus. So everyone's gonna say, who are you? Go write your own book, come up with your own company, run your own organization. I get it. I don't do any of that, but I feel like someone needs to tell them that, not just them, everybody, the idea of diversity is not just so you could say, oh, I'm diverse now. You gotta to
be organic,
to be sensitive, and to be accepting, and to have something that means something to the people that you're trying to represent. Like you said, it has to be organic. It needs to really make sense and mean something. Copying a name from another hero, copying Lanny Lanksey or whatever you said, and coming up with names that sound kind of like another hero's names because you want the familiarity.
Yeah, that word.
You want people to feel like they're reading those books. Is not the way to create a new Chinese character or a new gay character or a new black character, whatever it is. Create that character, make it strong, come up with its own thing, and then people might want to read it. Here, I don't know what this is, but it doesn't seem like it's any of the things that I think they're trying to accomplish here, but I don't believe this is the way to go about.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. All right, that's what where we're at with the comic books. Looking forward to more new issues as Rebirth continues to pump on as we go through August. Now, before we move on to anything else, I wanted to mention that, yes, this past month we have relaunched the Superman homepage. The website has been rebuilt using a totally new system, totally new design, totally new feel, more bells and whistles, more social aspects to the website. It seems to be very well received. It seems to be pumping along nicely, and I'm really proud of the fact that it kind of it all happened. A rather smooth changeover. Weren't too many teething problems. Everyone re-signed up to their new accounts and seems to be enjoying the website, and the hits seem to be increased. The polls seem to be getting more people voting in them, so it seems to be a success all round. I'm really happy.
Yeah, I've looked at it a few times myself. I'm not as familiar with the numbers as you are, but if all of the numbers are really increasing, any way you look at that, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So if you haven't checked out the website in full, there are different things with your profiles, social media aspects of it, the commenting, new kind of image galleries that we throw in there with different news items, the way it's all presented. Check it out, because I think it's a huge improvement on where things have been, and it's been a long time coming and a long time in the planning process. So check it out if you haven't done so already. Now, in some sad news, we sadly lost one of the members of the Superman family this past month, Noel Neill, the original Lois Lane from the Superman serials back in the late 40s, then the Superman TV series, The Adventures of Superman, from seasons 2 to 6. She played Lois Lane. She was also in Superman the movie as Lois Lane's mum. She was in Superboy, the TV series, for an episode. She appeared in the Jerry Seinfeld Superman American Express commercials. She was in Superman Returns as Gertrude Vanderwerth. She's was the first lady of Metropolis in Metropolis, Illinois, appearing at so many different Superman celebrations across the years. Sadly, she passed away aged 95 and is a great loss to the world. She was such a lovely lady.
Yeah, I talked about this a little bit on Great Scott when I was kind of discussing the idea of the supporting cast and the importance of Lois Lane in Superman's life. And Noel Neill was she was one of these rare, I think rare from what I hear and what I read about other actors, so one of these rare actors who really embraced the idea of being a part of the Superman universe, of being Lois Lane a time long ago, and still was kind of the Lois Lane of the Superman celebration. Always was there in Illinois when it went on every year, as much as she could be. And I think she fell off in recent years because of frailty and illness and old age. And everyone, of course, was hoping that she would return one day, but obviously 95, that's a tall order, I think. And the fact that she went as long as she did and was pleased to do it, took pictures, signed autographs, talked to people, was really among everybody every year for as long as she could be, and as you said, involved with so many Superman projects over the years, and willing to be cast and cast again simply because she was Lois long ago, and was pleased to be involved with it. And really represented the world well. So definitely a great woman to have involved in the Superman universe. Similarly, I said when Jack Larson passed last year or whenever it was, she did live to a very old age and had a long, seemingly happy life. So that is a positive to take away from. We all move on. So to make it to 95 and to be so involved and so happy and so around friends and to be doing what seemingly she wanted to be doing is really all we can all hope for. So great lady and a great long life.
Yes, she'll sadly be missed, but we can only live so long. But she was a wonderful person, really loved her fans, had so much time for everyone, was a sweet lady. I was lucky enough to call her a friend. Had met up with her a number of times when we were in Metropolis, and got to take her to lunch, and we shared Christmas cards each year for many years, and a lovely lady who will be greatly missed by those who knew her well, and by her fans in general. So may she rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Let's start with the big question.
All right, and now it's time for the big question. Last month's question was, what do you think of Tyler Hoechlin being cast to play Superman in Season 2 of Supergirl? And Christopher Miron wrote, hey guys, I only have really seen Tyler Hoechlin in Road to Perdition, but I think he'll do just fine as Superman. I do find it to be an interesting choice, since Clark was already Superman when 12-year-old Kara arrived on Earth, so it's funny that Tyler and Melissa Benoist are only a year apart in age. What's most exciting to me is that since Supergirl has already crossed over with The Flash, this opens up the possibility to have Superman appear on the rest of the DCW shows, or even a new Superman series.
Interesting thoughts there indeed.
It'd be great if we got something like that.
Thanks, Christopher. Donovan Hunter wrote in. He says, I think he's a great choice. I thought he was good on the MTV show Teen Wolf. I remember him auditioning for Batman v Superman, but I'm glad he's going to be the Man of Steel on TV. I can't wait for season 2 of Supergirl to start. Thanks, Donovan. I wasn't aware that he auditioned for Batman.
I did not know that either. The interesting thing on the last response, that they're only 1 year apart in age, actor-wise, it would be more than 1 year. But remember, she was frozen, so the fact that she, I guess, grew up, she was already 12, or so. It's not like she was an infant. So it's still 10 or 15 years, which is more than a year, but it's a little less than. Anyway, Patrick O'Neill wrote. He certainly looks the part. I'm excited to see how he does with the role. I'm also really interested to see what the costume will look like. I'm hoping for an S on the cape, but since Kara doesn't have one, I doubt he will. Anyways, great show as always, guys.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for your continued support. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the costume.
S on the cape, I don't know. It seems to be a problem for everybody. I guess, I mean, maybe there is something to when they say, well, yeah, animating it or whatever is a problem, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem, with all the animation they're able to do these days, that seems like a very minor issue, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we didn't get too many responses this month, so we're moving on to the new big question. Let's hope that more people will respond to, did the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman improve the movie for you? If so, how did it improve it? And if not, why didn't it?
Yes, get involved with the new big question segment of our show by using the big question feedback form found under the favorites menu. You'll find the Radio KAL page under the favorites menu on our website, and you'll find the button there for the big question. Get involved. We'll read out all the responses here on our next podcast, or you can record an audio response, send it in as an MP3 file, and we'll play them here on Radio KAL.
I'm laughing at you, you hear? Laughing!
All right, what do we got for the comedy sketch this month, Steve?
Well, thanks to Patrick, we have another comedy sketch, this time from Screen Junkies. They present an after credits scene from Superman the movie. Check it out, it's pretty funny.
Previously on Superman.
Lois? Lois? No! Hey, Lois.
Hi, Superman. Wow, Superman. That fight against Brainiac was just wild.
It sure was, Lois. I haven't had a moment that intense since the time you died and I turned the planet in reverse to go back in time to prevent it.
What?
Nothing.
I died? And you turned the world around backwards to save me?
Yep.
Was this when the helicopter crashed?
No. The first time was the big earthquake.
The first time?
This pasta sure is terrific, Lois.
How many times have I died?
Lois, could you pass the garlic bread?
How many?
You mean today?
Today. I died today.
Do you remember that bagel you couldn't get out of the toaster?
Oh my god.
That pack of hyper-intelligent Dobermans that attacked the Daily Planet?
It's like my entire existence is meaningless.
And what they did to poor Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy too? You did the time thing for him though, right? No.
You're overreacting, Lois.
Overreacting? Do not roll your eyes at me, Kal-El.
Sorry, Mom.
Wow. Have fun sleeping in your ice castle tonight.
Well, here we go.
Wow, Superman. That fight against Brainiac was just wild.
It sure was, Lois.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
Last month's sound came from the Lois and Clark Season 2 episode, That Old Gang of Mine. 11 people guessed it correctly. They were Rick Ruiz, Jamie Kelly, Ilan Sternfan, Mike Zummo, Dan Bagdian, Robbie Eleanor, Dan Sharp, David Huang, Lynn S.M., Patrick O'Neill, and Donovan Hunter.
Congratulations, guys, and if you can come up with any crazier surnames for Scotty to read out next time, that would be fantastic.
Hey, listen, that's a lot of names. That's more. I think that's the most I've ever read.
Yeah,
that's
11.
great.
Well
what
done.
happened to everyone responding to the question? I thought, oh, geez, we're losing viewers, but they're listeners, and now we have this many people on the other thing. So you're out there, and that's great. Good job, guys.
Yeah, well done on guessing that one correctly. Let's hear that sound again to remind everyone where it came from.
so fast. Hey, that ain't very ladylike.
Yeah, well, I'm a woman of the 90s, and you're not much of a lady.
So that was the sound. Now let's see if those 11 people and more can guess where in the world of Superman this new super secret soundbite comes from.
He's a superhero.
Well, if you think you know where in the world of Superman that sound came from, use the super secret soundbite entry form found at the Radio KAL podcast page under the favourites menu to enter this part of the show. Anybody who guesses it right will have their name read out and pronounced correctly here on our next podcast.
And now it's time for the Superman song, which this month is, once again, Superman. And it's this time by the Bulgarian disco band Vulcano from their 1982 album, which was also titled Superman.
Yep, here's Superman by Vulcano. Well, that was the song, and that is our show. Remember, if you do have some suggestions that you'd like us to try to put into the show here on Radio KAL, maybe there's a topic you think we need to discuss, a big question you'd like us to ask, maybe there's a song you'd like us to suggest, or a sketch you think we need to play, all those suggestions can be sent to us here at the Superman homepage. My email address is steve@supermanhomepage.com. You can email Scotty at supermanhomepage.com. You can also use our KAL feedback form, and we will try to get those suggestions in our next show. But for now, thank you, Scotty.
Thank you, Steve, and everybody, thanks for watching. And remember, even if you've burned the cat alive while you were trying to rescue it, keep looking up in the sky.
You've been listening to Radio KAL, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.